scrolling around looking for my notes. There we go. All right, here we go. I have them up and ready to roll.
He has his notes, everybody.
Hello, hello, hello. This is Polygon. Big time show tonight. Kind of important. Pretty major flooding event happening, or about to happen here in the next few days here in eastern Iowa. Lots of stuff to talk about, a lot of stuff to cover. Going to try and answer as many questions as possible up till now. All the information that I have was current as of about an hour ago. If things have changed, I apologize. I tried to get as current of information as I possibly could. For those of you listening out of town, this is not for everywhere. This is for two specific rivers. There's a couple smaller ones, but there's two major rivers that go through eastern Iowa that are going to be, that are being impacted and are about to be impacting even more areas later this weekend and into early next week. Namely, the Watsapinican River, which is the river that runs through our town that Jeff and I are in, which is Anamosa, Iowa, and also the Cedar River, which is the river that runs through downtown Cedar Rapids, which is kind of the population center here in eastern Iowa, other than Davenport. Pretty major flood. The forecast crest for the Cedar River at Cedar Rapids shows late Monday or early Tuesday at roughly 25.3 feet. That's pretty significant, considering that's up almost a foot from when the last forecast was issued yesterday. So
yeah,
I think they're planning on some additional rains coming later this weekend that will add to that, and I think that might go a little bit higher, just a touch higher. So there could be some pretty wet homes in the Cedar Rapids area early next week. I don't know if I mentioned that, but that crest is coming late Monday night or very early in the morning Tuesday. Here in a little bit, I'll try to share some of the pictures I got from the Cedar Rapids GIS website that I got yesterday. Don't know how I'm going to be able to do that, but I'll try and figure it out. I'll at least be able to give you an idea the areas in Cedar Rapids proper that will see the most water or water at all. Another couple things I'm going to mention. I have some statements from Cedar Rapids Mayor Ron Corbett and also the Anamosa City Administrator Al Johnson concerning the flood as well as what I'm about to go into right now, which is the Watsapinican River, which is the river that flows through our town that we live in, Anamosa. At midnight Monday, it is forecast to crest at 22.5 feet, which is just a little bit into the major flood stage. Now, per Anamosa City Administrator Al Johnson, he says the flooding in Anamosa itself should be fairly minor, and that the levee should hold off most of the water. I'm not exactly sure. I don't know the geography of the city of Anamosa that well. Maybe Jeff can.
Well, I will say this, that this is kind of funny. I don't think flooding is funny, but they just had started building a new levee between the old bridge at the dam and the new bridge, because that used to be really kind of bleh, but they just did that a few weeks ago. And they took out a lot of the trees and whatnot, so it looks a lot cleaner now. Yes. And they have the levees over by the cemetery. Now, the problem is going to be is whether the lake, which is in the winter is an ice skating rink, which it used to be, it still is for some people, whether that may come up and go over the road and into the athletic fields, which it has done for previous floods in the past, Whereas then they would have to build where they built a levee there along the road, which they got in trouble with the DNR. Now that levee is not very permanent. It sort of is now because there's grass growing there now. It's whether that levee is going to hold, because that's the one that's the questionable one. All the other levees are fine.
Right.
But what likely is going to occur is that if it gets up to the 22 feet, barring any something or catastrophic thing, the city will be fine. There might be an issue down on that southern part of town, right where the athletic fields are, where Animos is playing their football game tonight,
right,
where there could be some problems with stormwater if they happen to rain, possibly not being able to go out. It may just kind of pool. And that's happened before. I know. I've driven through that during the crest of the flood in '99.
Oh, okay.
And so, especially now, it's going to crest Monday, right? I think it said Sunday.
The NWS hydrology report suggested the crest was going to happen right at midnight.
On Monday night, Tuesday?
Correct.
Okay, so luckily it's not going to rain that night as of right now. But if it was to rain, it would probably be as if the levees will flood, or levees have broken. The best guesstimate is, that the levees will hold. There may be some minor issues in town, but it's not going to be bad. The thing is going to be is what will occur this weekend. Will that raise it up to a point where they will have to close the road, because only another couple of inches or a foot more in the road going from the south end of town out to where the Furniture Mart used to be and out to Fairview, that will have to close. It's going to be very nip and tuck on that now, because that usually closes when it gets to just a hair under 23. So.
Oh, okay. So this is right at that edge.
Yes.
This is right at that.
Almost
right at that point.
It's pretty much to the point that the hill climb area is going to flood. It floods even if it's at just below flood stage.
Right.
But a lot of the low-lying roads will close. The Wapsipinicon State Park will close, the lower road.
Right.
It's going to back up into Dutch Creek, so the golf course is going to flood again. So pretty much the golf course is probably going to be closed for the rest of the year. At least Wapsipinicon.
Well,
because
starting, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard somebody saying, just, through the grapevine, talking to people here in town, that they're already getting ready to close down for the year anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know how true that is, because it's been fairly warm this September.
Well, I think,
assuming they've had customers come and play. Yeah,
they typically do. But I think this is gonna be the thing that's gonna end their season. Fawn Creek out here will stay open until the first snow, but this is gonna pretty much close the Wapsie course, because it's typically
time to repair.
What they'll do is, since winter's gonna come, the water will come up, go down, it'll recede, and what will happen is spring will come, and they'll check to see what happens when spring comes.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Well, all right, there's the situation with Anamosa. Not going to be too bad.
As of right now.
As of right now, yes. This is all contingent upon little to no rain from now forward, the way I understand it. If it rains like it might heavily the Sunday evening, these all totals that I'm about to mention crests, I should say, will probably rise a little bit. Hopefully it doesn't go that far. As far as Cedar Rapids is concerned, I'll mention this one more time. The crest is still, as of an hour or so ago, at 25.3 feet, late Monday or early Tuesday, so around the same time that the Wapsie will crest here in Anamosa. Now, this is per the mayor of Cedar Rapids, Ron Corbett. There's been a lot of questions as to how evacuations will be handled along along the Cedar River, like in the Time Check neighborhood, in Check Village, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He says the best idea that he has right now is that um, there won't be any evacuations being issued until at least Sunday. Um, just to give people time to access their homes and get stuff moved in, moved out, whatever they need to do.
Yeah.
Make sure that they essentially have time to prepare. So I would expect Sunday afternoon you'll start seeing the most flood-prone areas of the Cedar River and downtown to start getting evacuation orders issued. You'll start seeing the TV come up a little bit more often. There's something I wanted to do really quick. I'm not sure if I can share these, but I'm going to at least describe the areas that I'm speaking of that will, at least see some water. Starting north of Cedar Rapids. Now, this information I'm getting directly off the ArcGIS website. So this is fairly recent and well-curated data. They have their inundation maps that have become popular over the last few days around here. Starting from roughly the north side of town, where Ellis starts to make a curve to the northwest, following the Cedar River. From that point south, it looks like, based on this image, that the entirety of the Time Check neighborhood will see at least some water. Now, granted, this is on the west side of the river, or the western-facing side of the river.
Mm-hmm.
So they will see probably more water than the other side of the river, where downtown proper is located. Let's see, let me get my other image here. Now, moving further on to downtown, downtown itself, it looks like on the east side of the river, all of downtown up to almost Green Square Park will see water, according to this map. Other areas to the west, I don't have any street names, but basically 5 or 6 blocks west of Interstate 380, where the S-curves start, if you know where that is, they will see water. And moving on a little bit further south, Sokol Park, I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
Will be underwater. Most of the Czech Village will be, the new museum will be getting wet, it looks like, on the...
Well, the new museum is high enough that it's going to be safe now that they've lifted it.
Oh, that's right. I forgot they did lift that. You're right.
You're not going to be able to get to it.
There you go. There you go. On the east side of the Cedar River there, where Czech Village is, where I believe that's the 12th Avenue Bridge?
Yes, the MLK Bridge.
Yes. All of that area, Newbo, all that area will be underwater. Osborne Park, underwater. Sinclair Park is about the border area, so if you know where that's at, that's about where the water's edge is forecast to be. Also, a couple other news items from KCRG. Cedar Rapids will be suspending bus service Saturday and through Tuesday. So those of you that need to use the bus or know somebody that needs to use the bus, be sure to plan accordingly. And
now I'm going to wonder about this because I have to interrupt.
Sure.
Because I'm going to wonder, and I'll bet bottom dollar, the Cedar Rapids School District won't have school Monday and Tuesday.
Yes. I didn't see anything about that.
But I'm going to take a guess that they will. Given the fact that Taylor Elementary School is going to be very close to the flooding, but not quite.
Correct.
Because we need to make a mention of this too, that the fact that this is not going to be like 2008. 2008, the river crested at 31. This is 25.3. That's forecast. Yes, the river will flood downtown up to on the east side, up to like 2nd or 3rd Street.
Correct.
And it's not going to be to the point that the water is going to be high enough where you'll be able to go floating down in canoes.
Right.
It might be, but it may not be. It might be during just around within a few hours either side of Crest. And that's going to be in the middle of the night. There might be people around that'll do that, but
right.
especially police and whatnot. But we want to make sure that because people might get the feeling that this is like 2008 again. Yes, it's going to be a very bad flood. Yes, it's going to be similar, but it's not going to be as bad as 2008. But it's going to be worse than any other flood besides that one.
Correct. I would venture to say that it's going to be nowhere near 2008. 2008 was, the crest was over 31 feet. This is only 25. We're looking at, almost 6 full feet of difference of water level between the two events. So while the water will be there, it won't be near as deep. It won't be near as destructive as it was. It won't be sitting for very long either.
Yeah, it's going to go up and go right down. So
yes, this water will be the river, I believe, will be below action stage by next Friday, which is fairly brief in terms of flooding is concerned.
Yeah.
Whereas compared to 2008, we had water for weeks. The water came up and stayed there. So I think that's another thing that's going on our side is the fact that it's not going to be up for long.
Yeah.
But there's one more other thing I wanted to show. Sorry for the fingers.
We can't see you anyway, so.
Really?
No.
It turned off my video?
Yeah.
Wow. Surprised. I am surprised. I thought I was going to. There's a few things I wanted to go over as far as wants and, or I should say needs and haves. If you would like or know somebody that would like to assist in the flood, whether it's sandbagging, helping people get stuff out, help people bring stuff in, food, whatever you think is best. Cedar Rapids has a hotline set up. Just dial 211 and you'll get connected with the right people where they can direct you with what you have and where it needs to, and where that need is most present. Also, just to throw this out there, the local phone number for the Eastern Iowa chapter of the Red Cross is area code 319-393-3500. I would assume, and I bring that up because I would assume that as soon as the water starts to rise and evacuation orders start coming out, their shelters are going to start open up very quickly. Yeah. There's going to be a lot of people that need to get a place to stay, a place to hang their head at night. So I assume that shelters will start opening up. I know that there's a few parking lots on both sides of the river that are opening up. That are being opened up for people to park their cars that have been affected by the flood that's coming up. And also, if you don't have money and you don't want to donate to the American Red Cross, but you still want to help out, here's a couple of things that I kind of jotted down to think about to give if you have them to give or wish to. Things like clothes, toiletries, deodorant, soap, shampoo, razors, toothbrushes, toothpaste, wash rags, towels, non-perishable food, canned food, candy, things of that nature. And one thing that might help a lot of people out that I thought of is comfort food, non-perishable comfort food, things like Oreos and Twinkies and one of my favorite canned foods in the world is anything Chef Boyardee. So like the ravioli or whatever, or things like that. Bring find some of that and bring it out. Peanut brittle, jelly beans. What else is there? Chips, Doritos, and things like that. Those are the kind of things that will really kind of put people at ease. I've noticed that in times of hardship. It's amazing just how far a good sweet treat will go, or something that you think is your favorite food will go in bringing up your mood when you're going through something like this. Not only will it give you energy for working to do whatever it is you're needing to do, clean up your basement or survive, for that matter. Not only will it give you energy, but it'll bring your mood up quite a bit, and your own sense of doom and gloom will subside a little bit, and it'll help you kind of get through that. But that is everything that I have, Mr. Jeff, as far as information. Do you have any info on I would like to kind of go through some of the meteorology of this event, kind of see what's causing this to rise so fast and then eventually fall so fast, and just why it's going to be as major as it's going to be, even given, as it stands right now, most rivers are either below or just barely at flood stage right now.
Yeah. The issue has been that this month, September, has been incredibly wet across the northern part of the state. And I saw a graphic as the car drives by real loud, that, I don't know if you heard it, but
I did.
that outside of the event that occurred on Wednesday, which is the reason why the river is coming up to as high in that, and Thursday, the reason the Wapsie is coming up so high is from last night's event, because Wednesday night's event didn't fall in the watershed of the Wapsie; it fell in the watershed of the Cedar. And last night, Thursday, the heavy rain fell more onto the Wapsie and the Maquoketa River watersheds, which is why the Maquoketa and Manchester, which we didn't discuss, went overflowing within 12 hours from being at flood stage to cresting, because the Maquoketa River is fairly small, and smaller rivers tend to go up and down really quickly. So the people in Manchester don't get to go to Burger King because it's right along the river. And now your video is working anyway.
Yay!
But a lot of the rain has been focused in northern Iowa this month. In fact, for most of the summer, southern Iowa has been, and Matthew and I went chasing, which we're going to discuss on tomorrow's program.
Yeah.
Southern Iowa's had almost no rain. They've had virtually nothing. And I saw a thing earlier today where parts of southeast Iowa have not even had 1 inch of rain this month.
Wow.
1 inch of rain. There was parts of northern Iowa that got 1 inch of rain in like 30 minutes. And there's still parts of southern and southeast Iowa that haven't had an inch of rain this month. Now think of that. 1 inch of rain, not even 1 inch of rain in a month, versus 1 inch of rain in maybe 20 minutes. So when you think about that, you have, okay, yeah, that's Matt sent me this, but which I'll bring up because right now I gotta move my computer because now I'm like, it's supposed to be a serious show. And what?
Here we go, making all kinds of noise.
Then I had to move. Yeah, this is similar to what I was looking for, but it's in the ballpark. So let me.
Dead space, so much fun. Dead space. Here we go.
So here it is. This is the departure from normal. So down here, they're below normal down here. This is the area right about here, Fairfield up to about Washington, Mount Pleasant. they've had maybe a half an inch of rain this month. Up here, especially in this area, Floyd, down into Bremer and northern Butler and southwestern Chickasaw County, which is pretty much the area that the flooding from the Cedar River started. We don't even mention the flooding that occurred up here in southern Minnesota that's coming down, because that's what's enhancing the river further, the Cedar further down, because there was already going to be flooding in Cedar Rapids. Even if this event like this past week hadn't occurred, Cedar Rapids is going to have a flood, but it would have been like a minor issue. It would have been, nobody would have lost anything because it would have just affected mainly parks and maybe some low-lying roads. But then what you see here is this is pretty much where most of the precipitation has been. Now, this week's event was mainly due to two factors. We had a heat bubble over the southern plains down here in Kansas, and there's been overrunning where a lot of storms are coming in from the west, and they kind of go around the heat dome like the Ring of Fire. Sounds familiar. Sounds like summer. Southern and southwestern Iowa have been in the 90s for the last couple of days. But here, it's been pleasant. We've only had, I think, one day where it was like really bad. So what ends up happening is we're getting nocturnal activity. Wednesday night was slightly an exception because it started forming in the evening. But a lot of this convection has occurred mainly, last night's was nocturnal. It didn't develop until after 8 o'clock. Where a lot of this moisture was from a system that had moisture from what was once Paine in the Eastern Pacific. When you bring in a tropical system, even if it's a remnant, it's going to dump a lot of heavy rain. It just happened to dump a lot of heavy rain right here. And we haven't even discussed the severe weather because we'll probably do that tomorrow. But yes, when you had in this area, you had precipitable water levels at 2 inches. 2 inches in September. Anything over 1 inch is considered to be at least above average. Significantly. 1 inch, you'll get 1 inch, pretty much at least half the time in September. 2 inches, a 2-inch precipitable water level, even in the summer, is considered to be significantly high. So when you're thinking about this, that this is mid to late September, and you're getting, it's from a tropical system, which it was. And then you enhance it with a heat dome, you have storms building up, and then they don't move. You have training storms, and we saw this with our own eyes, Matt and I, Monday. And it happened again on Wednesday, where you had some type of boundary, and the storms would form on the boundary, and then they would just go along the boundary, and they just keep getting fed. And when the feeding was over, in this case, on the Monday event, which we'll talk about tomorrow, but I'll discuss it here. When the storms became elevated and they had lost their connection to the surface, more or less, the storms didn't develop anymore, and they eventually dissipated and died out. What happened in this case, Wednesday, where there was a lot of severe weather, it happened on Monday, but most of that was down here in southern Iowa. Even though they've had virtually no rain down here, they had quite a bit of rain. We drove through it, especially down here in Wayne County, Appanoose, and down here, that's where we were Monday. But when the same areas are being hit over and over with a boundary, it's almost like a backdoor cold front, and you could actually see it on a satellite image if you really look carefully right here. You can kind of see it. This is from earlier this evening. You see it right here. Mm-hmm. And here it was warm in the 80s and low 90s. And in here, it was in the 60s and low 70s. And you can see this is part of the system that is that came from it, but the rest of it is sheared off and moved away. This is the unfortunate thing about this, and you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out that this is the next system, and it doesn't look good. Not to mention this over here, but we're not talking about that. That's Carl, but that's not going to affect us. This is the next system, and this is going to be at least a quick mover. It's going to come in late Saturday. Western counties may get it Saturday afternoon, and then through Sunday afternoon. And this is going to be in and out. But then there's the issue. There's a lot of heat in front of it. It's supposed to be in the 80s tomorrow. So it's going to be hot, relatively. It's not going to be like 100, but it's going to be warm, humid. That usually means showers and thunderstorms are going to develop. We don't want showers and thunderstorms. Southern Iowa can have showers and thunderstorms. The rest of the state could care less. But unfortunately, this system right here could dump another inch or two of rain again. And another inch or two of rain in the watersheds mentioned, the Wapsie, the Cedar, not necessarily the Iowa River. The Iowa River is going to flood, but it's not. It's going to be like a typical spring flood, even though it's fall. That's why we didn't mention the Iowa River, because the Iowa City, the river's not going to flood because the Corps is going to keep it from flooding. It's just going to flood into the Coralville Reservoir, and the reservoir will be way above near capacity, but it's not going to go over the spillway, not even close. So this is going to be the only system we have to worry about. There's nothing after that. I'm hoping that by the looks of the forecast at next week, it looks like it's going to turn cooler and drier. So that's going to at least help, because we've been in somewhat of a stagnant pattern where systems come in and it just seemingly rains in the same area over and over and over. And right now, there's nothing in the Eastern Pacific that's going to come sweeping in. Like the remnants of pain came in from Arizona. Hopefully people can see this on my screen. Came in from Arizona, New Mexico, and then it streamed in like this into the plains in the Midwest. It seemingly just dumped a lot of its precipitation in Iowa and Minnesota, because not even mentioning this, they had a flash flood emergency in the northern suburbs of the Twin Cities.
Yes.
I think Wednesday. I saw, and I counted this, there was, and I'd have to look, I couldn't remember this now, there must have been, when I counted the Iowa counties, Minnesota and Wisconsin, there must have been close to 30 counties under flash flood warnings.
That's impressive.
Almost all of northeast Iowa was under a flash flood warning. Almost all of south central and southeast Minnesota was under a flash flood warning. And then there were several counties in southwestern Wisconsin. You're talking about an area that's about this. They don't need any more rain. And this is, and we've talked about this on the EUS show, where we've talked about northeast Iowa, the area around Decorah, and then back into Alameda County. They've already had a bad flood in Decorah, because they had a bad flood, 2-3 weeks ago?
3 weeks ago.
And luckily, the water fell south of there, though the river, the upper Iowa, is going to flood again, but it's not going to be anywhere near what it was a couple weeks ago. And the Turkey River is going to flood not as bad as a few weeks ago. So it's just going to be the September that a water park of fun for September, because so that's what I'll
call
think.
it September spring.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, it is going to be the worst flood in fall. And the thing about it was that the monsoonal flow coming out of the southwest brought in a tropical system. It just so happened that there was a heat dome that kind of then forced it in the area. Then there was a low-level jet that then enhanced the storms, and then the storms trained, and unfortunately, it's going to lead to a lot of people losing a lot of property and a lot of farmers losing a lot of their crops. Because it's been a good year, and it's been a good year for farmers. The crop reports have shown that the corn and soybeans were going to be 75 to 80% good or excellent. this is going to kill it. It's going to northeast Iowa. And unfortunately now as the rivers flow into an area that didn't get 20 inches of rain, and I'm being exaggerating, but not by much, it's going to flood all these croplands that didn't have the heavy rain. So their crops are going to get ruined. So there's going to be a lot of hurting going on. Possibly, yeah. So it's just not looking, yeah. So that's what I have.
Well, that is, I believe, everything that I have. I'm getting really bad feedback.
Yeah, I heard myself too.
Yeah, it's kind of nasty. But I think that's everything we have. I think we can probably wrap it up now. We'll probably have a little bit longer show tomorrow because we have some interesting stuff to talk about from last Monday. Excuse me. So I think, Jack, we should probably wrap this up, get everybody back to what they were doing, and Eastern Iowa, here's hoping that we get through this all right.
Yeah, because I'd rather. This is what happens, and we're going to slightly go off topic for the end.
Oh boy.
That this is what happens when we have almost nothing to talk about, thinking, what are we going to talk about? And Mother Nature pulls this.
Now we have enough.
Too much to talk about. So it's sad. There's a lot of people that are making, and this goes off this, some people are making fun of this flood. And this,
that's not.
Well, the fun part is the fact of the casino in Cedar Rapids, that the land, and this is politics, sort of, that the land the Cedar Rapids was, for people who are in around this area, they would know that Cedar Rapids has been fighting to try to get a casino, and they have the land specified for where the casino is going to go. That land's going to flood again. So and if anybody knows that the one person down who owns more casinos was going to build a water park there. So somebody made a meme saying Cedar Rapids has been fighting for a casino and instead got a water park, and it shows the flood.
Mm-hmm.
So it's somewhat kind of ironic, but it's funny, but not really. So it's somewhat kind of,
I'm a firm believer in poking fun of yourself and the situation around you. That's kind of how, at least in my own life, that's how I kind of deal with things, is with humor. If I'm in a really stressful situation and I am not cracking jokes and making absolute fun of what's going on around me, then there's probably something wrong. But I think that was just in a little bit of bad taste. This isn't the time. People are trying to protect their lives and livelihoods right now. Now's not the time to make a little, jab.
I will say this for the fact that
facilitate this preparation and eventual recovery.
Yeah, I will say this about this, that given that what's happened in 2008, the best thing that ever happened was that the city tore down a bunch of houses in areas that are going to flood again. The people that are going to get affected is going to be way less than it was before. Unfortunately, there's going to be buildings downtown that are going to have flooded basements, because I fear what's going to happen. Some of the same stuff that happened in the 2008 flood could happen again, because you don't need 8 feet of water to destroy something, because all you have to do is have the water go into the basement and it's going to destroy something. Because a lot of electrical, because I remember in 2008, there were several electrical fires in downtown skyscrapers. And I have a feeling that might happen again. Might. Hopefully they got smart and moved everything out of the basement, but we'll see.
Or at least they built it in a way where it's a lot more difficult for water to get in there.
And I'm hoping that it's not going to flood the new convention center. I fear that's going to happen. It's going to probably flood the Paramount again, and they just got that done a few.
Oregon is gone from
yeah.
the Paramount.
Yeah.
They've already got it dismantled, and it's already off to higher ground, which I thought was awesome.
Yeah, they got smart. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff. The city is not making, and we're going to go off on with this. The city is not screwing around. They are prepping way faster than in '08. They're getting everything closed off. They're closing roads before the water even gets there. They're making sure.
I will take my imaginary cap off to Mayor Ron Corbett and the rest of the city of Cedar Rapids. I saw a press conference from, I believe it was either yesterday morning or this morning. I couldn't read the date line on my phone, but they are getting information out like you wouldn't believe. Like, they get information in, they process it, and it seems like within minutes it is out and it is available to the public, so people know how to do it, and this, that, and the other. And good job already from Ron Corbett on down for just being this proactive. If they were this proactive in '08, oh man, I can only imagine just how much less suffering there would have been. But that's not a dig on them. That's just saying just how far they've come since '08. I think it's kind of a night and day kind of turn.
It always brings a bad event to then help prepare for future events. And I wanted to do this too because the county sheriff's department, which of course the jail is on Mays Island, and the sheriff's department is then right next to the river. They've already closed. They're gone. The Lynn County Sheriff's Department is now out of Marion.
Right.
All the inmates have been moved. As far as I know, they've been moved already. They wouldn't say when they were moved, but I think they already have been.
As far as I know, and don't quote me on this, but I do believe some were also moved up here to the penitentiary.
The male inmates are going to the pen. The females are going to Washington County. And any arrests that take place in Lynn County will be processed in Jones County. So there's going to be a lot of back and forth with Lynn County Sheriff's deputies coming to Anamosa. They better hope to gosh that the road coming into town, the not 151 will be fine, because they may not be able to get here.
That's a possibility. Downtown Anamosa may well for a few hours be cut off.
Well, at least going that way.
Cut off.
But
I'm not sure about you, but I definitely will be cut off. I don't think that there'd be a way out of town.
Well, you'll be able to go 151 will be fine.
But
even in the 2008 flood, 151 didn't close.
But I mean, getting to 151, that going towards 151 on Main Street, you stop at the stop sign, you hang a left at the Envet's place, and go out that way. That creek there, if that backs up and floods, that can shut down that road.
Oh, you mean? Are you talking about the creek that goes when you turn right to go past Wayne Hall and you go down and it curves around?
Yeah.
That's Division Creek.
It goes by the school.
Oh, you mean Fawn Creek? Fawn Creek? No, you're not going to have a problem with that. That is never flooded. That backs up the road, Shaw Road, that windy road, the paved road that goes past Hale Bridge and it goes to the hill climb or scooters. That's going to close. That's going to flood.
Yeah. Yeah.
The creek only backs up a certain way, and then it kind of stops because then it just goes into pasture land.
Oh, okay. So it's that pasture that kind of absorbs everything.
Yeah.
Keeps it from backing up into town.
Yeah. Okay. I'd have to show you what happens when the Division Creek, Fawn Creek's never flooded as bad, but Division Creek is the one that floods the worst during flash flooding. Because let's just say they've had bridges collapse, they've had walls collapse. You'd have to see it. I'd have to show you. But anyway, that's enough of that. But because that's enough of me.
That's enough of serious Polygon.
Yeah, serious, because it's serious. Yep. So. Other than that, I don't think we have anything else because the fun stuff will be tomorrow. And if there's any updates, because there probably will be, we'll mention them tomorrow on our. on our EUS show, because I assume we're going to do an EUS show, the Enormous UFO Supercell show number 15.
If there are any updates, I'll go ahead and put myself in charge of that. I will kind of monitor things that happen overnight up until I go to bed, which is usually about 2 or 3 in the morning anyways lately. I will keep abreast on new developments and anything new that happens, just forecasts, adjusted inundation levels or anything like that. I will give that at the very start of EUS tomorrow night. So if you'd like to join us for that, go ahead. That's totally okay. It's not going to be the serious type of show. This is going to be very laid back, very lighthearted. You know, me and Jeff poking fun at each other, us poking fun at other weather people, poking fun at certain residents of certain towns that we saw on Monday. You know, that kind of thing. So it'll be fun. It'll be a little bit more lighthearted show. We'll get a little bit more dorky in terms of the geek meter. It'll get a little bit higher and higher and higher than it was here tonight. But it'll be a lot of fun. So if you want to hear some more stuff and you don't have the news like me, then join us tomorrow, roughly 7-ish, call it, and we'll have a good time.
So that's enough of that. So we're done. So we'll
I'm going to go have dinner.
He's gonna go to the bar.
No, I'm going to go have dinner. I have not been to the bar except for once since I've lived here. I've lived here 3 weeks now. I'm being a good boy.
Yeah, he's going to the bar. He's going to Tyler Downing.
I have my Casey's pizza sitting in the oven right now. That's cold.
Oh. Now I'm gonna be mad.
Time for me to go eat.